abuse.
There'll be no rest.
For animal abusers.
There's never an excuse.
For animal abuse.
There'll be no rest.
For animal abusers.
Wet markets, shut them down. Wet markets.
Shut it down.
Wet markets.
Shut it down.
Wet markets.
Shut it down.
Wet markets.
Shut it down.
Wet markets.
Shut it down.
Wet markets.
Shut it down.
We want justice.
For the animals.
We want justice.
For the animals.
We want justice.
For the animals.
We want freedom.
For the animals.
We want justice.
For the animals.
We want freedom.
For the animals.
South Korean government has blood on their hands.
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 South Korean government has blood.
Oh wow, you guys are amazing. We're so happy that you're doing this because this is not your first protest, right? So
Oh no, it's not. We've been doing these for 2 years now.
Oh, okay. So you've done the Yulin protest that we featured on my podcast not that long ago in June, and now you're doing this. And it's can you explain for viewers at home why this is so important? This is regarding the Korean dog meat farming industry that is prevalent in Korea. So maybe you could tell folks at home why this is so important and what the Korean dog meat trade is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, these poor animals are farmed, all year, and then, for Boknal, it's supposedly the 3 hottest days of summer, and I mean, it's very similar to Yulin, where they farm these animals, they take these animals and they boil them alive, they burn them alive, they skin them alive,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be some sort of, whole festival. They believe there's some holistics going on with it, some sort of, I guess you could say, aphrodisiac or something like that.
Yes. And it's been going on for many, many years, obviously. And during your protest, you were saying that it's not tradition, that's a lie. And so, like, you're trying to say, like, debunk the claim that this is cultural tradition for them, because it's not. Although it's prevalent in Korea, it's more so consumed by the older generation, would you say?
Right. Yeah, it's so unnecessary. I mean it's same thing with animal agriculture. There's no need with all the plant-based, options out there. There's absolutely no need to consume or wear or
Yeah.
use any of the products at all, and they keep clinging to this notion that it's their long-time tradition, and there's,
Yeah.
there's it's medicinal and there's healing properties and stuff like that, when it's just cruel and sadistic.
Well, absolutely. And the difference between our Western animal agriculture, which is also in place in countries like Korea, they have farm factories where they farm pigs, cows, chickens, the same way we do. So the dog meat trade is on top of this industry, and they have this belief that the more suffering the dog endures in its death, the more adrenaline flows through their blood, the better the meat, the better the medicinal properties, like you were saying. But you're like an animal activist through and through, and you've done protests about other animal causes like the fur industry, Canada Goose. And what would you say? Is there a difference between, in your mind, is there a difference between what is done to those dogs in South Korea and what we do to animals on farms in the West?
No, there's really not. I mean, it depends on which industry you're speaking of. For the fur industry, they're anally electrocuted.
Yeah.
They're skinned alive. For Canada Goose, they're boiled alive, to pluck the feathers out.
Yeah.
it's so unnecessary, and it's so cruel. And in this day and age, especially just with all the violence going on in this world anyway, humans against humans,
Yes.
like there's absolutely no need to project this violence on innocent animals who can't defend themselves and can't speak for themselves.
But also, I think what gets to most people here, because not everyone that fights this trade is vegan. Like you're vegan, I'm vegan. But there are a lot of people that are fighting this trade because it's done to man's best friend in many ways. You know, people, especially in the States and America, we have a dog-loving culture. And I always find it, I find it completely understandable that someone would object to this being done to a dog, because we didn't grow up like that. We didn't grow up with like dogs being on our dinner table, whereas, you know, farm animals have been, you know, on everyone's dinner table for so long. So there's a distinction there, and I think. And of course, I understand that dogs have a different place in our homes and our lives here in America, and so that's why a lot of people are very offended at this being done to dogs. But you did a protest last time for Yulin. That was China. Obviously, China has a very prevalent dog meat trade, dog-cat meat trade, I would say. And what would you say? Like now you're doing it for South Korea. Between the two countries, what would you say, where would you say we have seen the biggest progress on that front? Like, are you more hopeful that South Korea will ban the trade before China, or?
I think if anything does happen, just because there's so many bills that are on the floor right now, like HR 1406, to put, I'm sorry, hang on, there's police officers coming by.
Are they coming for you? Hopefully not.
Yeah, all right. There's actually legislation, you know, on the floor, and it's called the Farm Bill.
Yeah.
And this would add in stopping putting sanctions on China for, I'm sorry, somebody just passed. So I think that there's more progress being made. It's slow and ongoing, but yeah, with the Farm Bill, it would sanction China for the use of, you know, these animals for either recreation or, you know, to trade, to, you know, to eat. I mean, and obviously with what we're going through with coronavirus, you know, if you can read my map.
Yes.
I mean, you know.
Meat markets. I mean,
yeah. There's in these open markets, and it's just a breeding ground for all kinds of diseases.
Right.
So I think if anything happens, I believe China would be the first, because there's actually legislation that's actually on the floor.
Okay, so this legislation, you call it Bill 1406, but this is something that was passed in the States, right? It's a U.S. bill, but I guess the biggest victory we had was in 2018 when the Farm Bill was passed, and it made it illegal for dogs and cats to be consumed on U.S. soil. And so the idea with that was to encourage other countries, other developed nations, to adopt the same law. So to recognize dogs and cats as a special category of companion animals, and they're not made for food. And with that, we would hope to add pressure to countries like China to adopt the same type of bill, like to make it illegal over there.
And
but we have to change the perception over there, and it's going to take a lot of time. I think, you know, a lot of you know, from my many interviews with guests on my podcast, it's been pretty clear that it's a new generation that's going to really uphold that change, you know, that change in mindset and perception. They're much more progressive. They're much more influenced by Western culture, and they recognize dogs as being, you know, pets and not to be consumed. So I guess at the end of the day, a lot of people are,
the change is going to have to come within, because obviously we don't vote there. You know,
no, that's it. as much as we like to, like do these protests, like how do you feel this protest you did today is impacting, the trade, the cause? Like, how do you view these actions? Are they, ultimately effective in helping promote change?
Yeah, it's definitely raising awareness. People are looking up, more about it, on the internet, learning more about it. We have flyers and leaflets that we hand out that can, tell them how to get more involved.
Right.
And, it's one of these grassroots things. It just starts with one person and it just grows from there. And hopefully, one day people will choose, a more compassionate lifestyle.
And today, how did it go for you today? Like, how do you feel it went, the protest today? Did you get to speak to anyone at the embassy of South Korea?
No, but actually they were coming out taking pictures of us.
Okay.
So yeah, they actually closed to the public at noon, and that's what time that we started. But they're still doing business in there.
Right.
So they were still coming out. There were still people coming in and out. And actually, from the look on some of the faces, they were actually kind of ashamed. So. Oh,
wow. But no one came to speak to you. No one came to address you.
Just the Secret Service.
And that's, you said you've been doing this for 2 years. And can you tell us, like, from the first protest 2 years ago, have you seen more, like, of a turnout? Like, how is the progression on that front? Like, do you feel it's getting more people involved?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a ton of new faces this year. So, and we're hoping to see more new faces next year, and the movement is going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Are the other protesters around you? Maybe you could show us with your camera the.
Yeah, most have left.
Yeah.
We're still out here.
Also, this is the embassy, and is Big Bruno there? Hi, Big Bruno. He's a dedicated, activist. Big Bruno, we love him.
So, and these are the other dedicated activists.
Yes. Hi. All staying safe, all with a mask. That's important to keep everyone safe. So when you attend these protests, it's not a problem. It's not a health concern because we're all promoting safety. Of course, you're wearing your mask. And I actually ordered that mask, and I'm still waiting for it in the mail. It's good because it says the message, So when you're wearing it out, people, will notice it, and it'll get people thinking, right? So.
Right, absolutely. So it's pretty much a walking billboard.
Exactly, and that's all sorts of activism that we can do, like everyday people can do and get involved. You don't have to go to Washington, D.C., although we love it when you do, but you can promote, this cause and animal rights awareness in every day, like by talking to your family, by sharing it with neighbors, and just getting people to think about it. So I think that's great. And I guess lastly, I know we won't keep you too long because you're probably very tired. When did your day start today? What time did you get up?
It takes me about 3 hours to get here.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's a long trip for you. And you have another 3 hours to go to return. So lastly, I guess I would ask you a question that, because I've done this podcast since October, so I've interviewed quite a few people. And I thought at one point that, South Korea would be the next country to ban the trade because they are a democratic political system, as opposed to China, who's a communist regime. So the people actually have a vote, right? So the population, if it opposes it enough, politicians that want to get reelected will have to embrace that, a majority vote. But the difference between China and South Korea is South Korea is the only country in the world that farms dogs systematically. They have farm factories of dogs, and it's a billion-dollar industry. And so because of that, it might actually be a little bit harder. They have dog meat trade unions in that country, and they lobby the government for support. They want to be classified in at the same level as other farm livestock. And so that is the big fight. There's a war brewing in that country, and it's between the animal activists and obviously the traditionalists, the people that believe that it's a cultural right to eat dog meat, and the people that are working in that industry that keep it alive, because for them it's their bread and butter. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like this is a big challenge to overcome, or are you hopeful that more and more people are going to speak out against dog meat and, we'll be able to make change happen in the government?
It's definitely a challenge, but like I said, each year we see new faces, and the numbers keep growing, as we're spreading awareness. So, I'm confident that hopefully in a lifetime this will come to an end, and we'll just keep fighting and fighting and fighting until that happens.
And how do you keep hopeful and optimistic? Because you do a lot of activism. You're aware of a lot of cruelty. How do you keep hopeful about humanity and all this? Because it must be hard.
We have to keep going.
Yeah,
we just
can't give up. You can't give up. Yeah.
But we're actually going to be getting, I don't know if you can see the Secret Service.
Oh, yes, they're waiting for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to have to cut this short.
Yes, but we'll definitely have you on my podcast for a more thorough interview, because I love what you're doing. I think you're amazing, and we definitely want to hear more from you. So keep safe, have a good ride home, safe ride home, and thank you so much for doing what you did today. We really, really appreciate it.
All right, thanks so much. Much love to you.
Take care. Bye. We need to not blame those people that are fighting this industry, even though they're still eating meat, because that can cause it can discourage people from fighting this industry, and it's very cruel. So we need to appreciate the distinction.